Hello, my name's Michael Head. I am a writer, actor, producer, director, and I'm part of Fugitive Films. Before I got into films, part of what I did was theatre, and I got approached to do this fantastic story about Clapton Orient by a guy called Stephen Jenkins, who wrote this amazing book called They Took the Lead, which tells the true story of how Leyton Orient, or Clapton Orient was then, got involved in World War One, and the whole club signed up. And it follows, in particular, the story of Richard McFadden and William Jonas, and how they was best friends, grew up together, and sadly died together. And then Peter Kitchen, who's an Orient legend, was also involved. And this it was very organic, but this story evolved into this play. It went out originally, and sadly it didn't do quite as well with the reviews as we'd have hoped. And then Adam Morley come on board as a director. It got rewritten and went out again, and that was how I met the wonderful guys at BritFlicks as their Orient fans. And that was the start of the theatre journey of that play. And I'm delighted to say we had a meeting with the Royal British Legion the other week, and they've endorsed the film version. So we're a little bit of a way off because it's a huge budget film, as you can imagine, and we've got to go up and blow up half of Belgium or Poland or Malta or wherever it might be set. But it's lovely to be able to get this to where it needs to be, which it does. It deserves to be a film. And I remember when I met Steve, we was in the clubhouse at the Orient, and they just beat Sheffield Wednesday 4-1. And I said to him, look, it is a film. I went, but I'm never going to be in a position to make films. I mean, I work in theatre. I can promise you a theatre play, and I can produce that, and I can do it well. But that's all I'll be able to offer. So to be at this point now, and we've still got a few hurdles to jump, but it's well on the way to becoming a feature film and, a big budget feature film. So I'm absolutely delighted because it's a passionate project of mine that I really am behind, but also for the men themselves, their wives, the families who we're in touch with, the club itself and their fans, but also for Peter and Steve, it's an absolute dream come true. The one for me was I met Mark Reason, who was Jumbo's great-grandson. And when at the end he come up to me and hello mate, and I said hello to everyone, just as she went, my name's Mark. I went, hello Mark, nice to meet you. Mark Reason. I went, you're joking. He went, no. He went, I looked it up, I couldn't believe it. And that's when it hits home that actually this isn't just a story. You speak to Steve and Peter, you can see the passion. But when you meet the families, you're like, oh, it is real. We met the William Jonas, Richard McFadden, we met all of their next of kin, the Scots as well. So it was, for as long as I live, I will never be involved in another project like that again, because it just doesn't happen. Or the other ones are like my stories, but they're, story about an armed bank robber ain't quite the same as a story about a war hero, is it? It was an unbelievable honour to be a part of that. And I really am confident we're going to get it where it needs to be, which is sort of £5 to £8 million film. So, I got into acting, loosely say acting. I'm a failed boxer, and I had a couple of fights and did quite well. And then in my sit fight, I got absolutely destroyed. And I remember sitting there afterwards all feeling sorry for myself. My granddad just popped his head in and went, son, you'll never be a boxer, you better learn to use a shotgun. And let's be honest, armed robbery ain't what it used to be. So I thought, no, I'll get into acting. So that was sort of how it came about. And my granddad died 2004. And 6 months later, his brother died, leaving their mum behind. And she was living in Bermondsey, just off Great Dover Street. And there was a drama school there, London School of Musical Theatre, and I applied because I knew that it was the nearest drama school that I could look after me nan. Now, I don't particularly like musicals, and it isn't something that I particularly wanted to do, but at the time, at 19, you sort of think it's a way of training, getting to where you want to be, and also looking after my nan, and sadly, she passed away that year. So it was a wonderful school, lovely experience. And it was nice that I got to spend that much time with my nan. But, the career that I've gone down, it was probably not exactly the perfect choice for me, although it is a great school. Yes, so I was very lucky to be involved with a film called The Last Heist. And one was I was writing a play called Time. And I was having Sunday dinner with a guy called Johnny Clark, who's passed away now, who's a business associate at my granddad's. And we watched the Hatton Garden Job. And he went, "Son, why don't you write something like that? You know how it is. It's proper bit of work." And I went, "Look, John, I write plays. You can't do a gangster play." "Why not?" "Because people ain't going to watch it. It's not a theatre audience. You have to come up with something clever." And while we were sitting there eating, it sort of come to me, this concept. And I wrote it that night as a play, met Dan O'Reilly. And when I met him, I didn't know who he was. I had no idea that he had this alias, Dapper Laughs. He was, got an army of fans. I just met him and he reminded me of my uncle. And I went, "You could play this guy, fisherman, that's based loosely on my uncle." And he went, "Oh, I don't know, I've never done film." No, let's do it. So cast him in it over a bit. Turns out he's this huge, he's a fantastic actor, but it turns out he's got an ability to get this play where it needs to be. Play sold out in the West End, did really well. COVID hit, the tour got cancelled. I was thinking of retraining, going to become a history teacher. And then I get a phone call from Terry Stone, "We want to turn it into a film." Okay. No, actually, I got a call from Dan about 11:30 at night. "Mike, I'm going to turn it into a film." "Okay, mate." Put the phone down, went, "Oh, he reckons he's going to turn it into a film." I went, "We'll see." And my wife went, "No." She went, "Dan will do it." And he did, to be fair. Dan raised the money. Then next thing, I'm on set for this film, which is, again, it was crazy to think that it went from this play and evolved into this completely different, it's a very different script, The Last Heist. But to be a part of something that I'd written, and I kept my part, the lead role of Slips, and to bring these family, to life, these characters to life, this story to life, it was a real, as they say in the film, it was an honour and a privilege. And you're on set, you've got all the family photos on the wall and that. And it was very surreal. And then once it come out, it sort of took a life of its own. It won a couple of awards, and we had sellout premieres, and then it's topping the Amazon charts and that. And all of a sudden, it's broke a medium of theatrical work that I never thought I'd ever break. And then off the back of that, Perry Benson, who plays me dad in it, well, he technically plays me granddad, but for the sake of it, he's me dad. He went, "I've got a mate of mine." He went, "He'll like you." He went, "You got any scripts?" I went, "Actually, I've got this script, yeah, Bermondsey Tales." He went, "Yeah." He went, "Meet him." I went, "Yeah, okay." Turns out to be Ray Burdis, who's an hero of mine. And the same thing happened. I went home and went, "Oh, Pell reckons he's going to, introduce me to Ray Burdis." I went, "I ain't going to expect nothing." Next thing, Ray's read the script. He went, "Son, I love it." He went, "There's some things I want to change, but I've got another script, Mr. Kiss. I want to co-write it with you. Would you be interested?" Again, dream come true. Ray was my hero. Love and Obey's still to this day one of my favourite films. And next thing, I'm sitting there writing a script with him, writing this story with him. And, it all sort of seems so surreal. And every so often I sort of go home and I go to my wife, "I just had lunch with Ray Burdis." I just wrote, and we, I just wrote this script with Ray. I'm just writing this scene. And bouncing it back's the best process, because, we at the time, it was just after lockdown. But and I didn't know him that well at the time, so it was just emails. So suddenly I'd send him an idea for this scene, and he'd go, "Okay, yeah," and he'd write back, and then I'd get an idea. He'd get this idea and send it back. But reading work from a guy who is a hero of mine, but genuinely laughing at the ideas that were coming up. There's this one scene, which in the end John Hannah's playing this part, but when it was coming back, and it starts off with this guy getting hurt, and I won't give too much away, but it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was literally me and Ray emailing each other back with, "How about we do that to this fella? How about we do that?" And so just the creative process was amazing, and what an honour to be working with Ray. And then he sort of turned around to me one day and went, "Look," he went, "Fugitive Films," he went, was my baby, it was my company. He went, "Me and you get on." He went, "I trust you." He went, "I think we should redo it and we'll release the film for a Fugitive." So now, not only have we got this film and we've got a slate of films, we've got this company that is, I grew up watching Fugitive Films, the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, The Craze, Lover on the Bay, BBC's Operation Good Guys, and now I'm part of that company. So again, it's something that even now, years into the process, I still sort of go to my wife or, so, there's Ray Burdis. I had my 40th in this social club in Sidcup, and he's turned up, with other people. And he's such an honour to be part of this and to be, on the enjoying the ride, so to speak. So Mr. Kiss is a comedy gangster film, but when I met Ray, nothing against comedy gangster films, we're about to do another one. But we wanted to make something that isn't like the rest of the films out there, where it's, maybe football firms or gangsters, and, this sort of hard man image. We wanted to create something that was just surreal and just absolutely crazy. I mean, to give you an idea, we've got John Hannah and Vaz Blackwood playing identical twins. And they're playing the Turk brothers. Neither of them speak Turkish. In the club, they've got Algerian flags flying. It's just, it's just silly. But we wanted to create something that is still a nod to the genre, but is a bit more like Lover on the Bay in the sense of the execution of it and the style of it. And we're writing it, and like I said, it's just such a funny process to write. But then all of a sudden we've got John Hannah, unbelievable actor, Michelle Collins, Vaz Blackwood, Perry Benson, Trevor Laird, Martin Kemp. We've got all these serious actors on set. And I remember on the third day was my character's first day. And it just felt a little bit overwhelming, because all of a sudden you realise that it ain't a game anymore. You've got these serious actors. A lot of people have invested into this project. But we've now seen the final, final edit, and it was really well. We had a private screening. It was really well received, and we're looking forward to the West End premiere, which should be out around July this year. So I just can't wait to share it with the audience. Mr. Kiss is based on technology going wrong, so I'm sure I can tell this. Ray when he writes, he goes to a monastery, and he sent a message to the nuns to say thank you. And it was an autocorrect. And he meant to say sisters, and it didn't say sisters, it said something else. And he was highly embarrassed, and he sort of rang him up. I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to send you that. And it's just the idea that if that happens in the, it's that real instance of life, but in the gangster setting. And it come up with, I was saying about certain people that I know. Sometimes you can say the wrong thing. And the perfect example of that is Joe Pesci in Goodfellas. What, you think I'm funny, I amuse you. Which is so true, because that can happen. And that was how the idea came about. It was Ray's idea of putting that, a simple, honest mistake, if that's seen by the wrong person and taken the wrong way, how it blows up. But obviously it's a comedy. So you've got all these crazy characters in this world. You've got all the other comic scenarios happening in the background. So that's the premise of the film. So technically it's based on real people, and technically it's based on a true story, but it's been taken to the point of absurdity. But when you've got actors like John Hannah and Martin Kemp and, all the rest playing it so well, well, in my opinion, I'm going to say that, and I'm biased, but they really pull it off. And it was such a privilege to see these actors bring this story to life. Yes, so Fugitive's film, next film is Bermondsey Tales, which is a story, it's very personal to me. I wrote a version of it years ago. Again, I'd done it just as an exercise, because I was never going to make films. I was never going to be fortunate enough to. And then when we was looking at our next project, the producers at Fugitive, so we've got obviously Ray Burdis, Rohit Nathaniel, Adam Morley, Stephen Beckett, and then we've got a green light committee as well, including people like Frank Warren and Don Warrington. So we were discussing the next project, and Bermondsey Tales come up, and one of the producers said, well, look, give it a go, see who you can get. So I wrote this script, and the story is called Bermondsey Tales, Fall of the Roman Empire. And it's the basis of the story is how the mafia can fit the Roman Empire, which can fit the British crime family. And if someone at the top dies, and there isn't a natural successor, you get infighting and everything falls to pieces. And it happened, like I said, with the Roman Empire, time and time again. It happens well, I don't know much about the mafia, but you know what I mean? If you believe films and you believe that, and it certainly can happen in the British crime family. I know it happened to me when my granddad died. He didn't have a natural successor, and things did not fall apart. That's not the right way, but things disappeared. Things sort of ceased to happen. It was suitable because it wasn't something that my granddad would have wanted. Certainly not for me, not for my uncle, not for my family. But it just shows how it mirrors. So that's the basis of the story, which means it is loosely based on real life, I guess. But it's just something that I've always found fascinating, and as a fan of Roman history. So it's that's the premise of the film. But again, it is a comedy. I didn't want to write something it's got brutal moments in it, but I wanted to write something that would entertain, and that's what I think films should be. I don't want to make a political message. I don't want to make something that's violent or gory for the sake of being gory. I want to make something that people are going to laugh. And that's what I love about this, the process. We sent this off to top agents and actors that I wasn't expecting to get. And then all of a sudden you've got the agents ringing me back going, it's one of the best scripts I've ever read. We'll pass it on and hopefully we get them. And then you get the feedback from the actors. Dan O'Reilly I've worked with for years now. And he rang me up yesterday, actually, while he's on holiday. And he rang me up and he said, Michael, this script is unreal. He went, it's the funniest thing. He went, I can't put it down. So to get that feedback from the actors, from the Fugitive, Green Light Board, from agents, it's lovely for me. Ego, isn't it? It's fantastic. But also I think it puts the project in good stead. And then to back that up, the cast we've got is phenomenal. We've got Frank Harper, Alan Ford, Vaz Blackwood, John Hannah, Ricky Grover, Dan O'Reilly, Ray Burdis, David Shaw, Linda Robson, Vicky Michelle, Maisie Smith. I hope I haven't missed anyone out. I probably will have, but just the quality of that cast. And again, to have these people attached to something that is effectively come from my head and from my family is unreal. But touch wood, I think it puts the project in good stead, and I do think this could be a really, really special film. Bermondsey Tales starts shooting in May, and it's hopefully be a fairly quick turnover. We're hoping to have it out this year, and it's my directorial debut. I'm co-directing it with Ray, which again, what an honour. And it was just one of the things I never really thought about directing. I've directed stage plays, and I was talking to a few different directors, and Ray just said, look, this is your story. He went, you know it inside out. He went, you know what you're doing. I can see you know what you're doing. And he went, and also he went, you won't mess up because I'm there to hold your hand and guide me through it. So it sort of come about. It wasn't something that I had planned. It wasn't some great master, great scheme of mine. But again, the way it's come about, and working on it now and doing the prep, which is obviously the process we're in, you do realise that I picked up a lot of things that I didn't know. And then just talking about it with Ali Assad, who's our DOP, who again is unreal, but talking to him about the shots and about the ideas we've got and these certain things. It's great to see it again. It's starting to come to life now, because in theatre you have the rehearsal process, which is like your safety net, where you don't quite get that in film. But when you know the quality of the cast that you're working with, the quality of Ray alongside me, and the quality of the crew, it's comforting. So I'm not losing sleep yet. And speak to me in a couple of weeks, that might change. But at the moment, I'm quietly confident. And just can't wait to start. As I said, it is loosely based on true stories. There are moments of violence. There are moments of threat and moments of what really happens. But I don't want to glorify villainy. It's something I often get accused of doing, which I'm not doing. It's not glorifying. It's just saying this happens. However, most of the moments of violence are actually comical, which sounds a little bit controversial, and I hope I don't get shot down for that. But the reason for that is when you sit with these villains or alternative businessmen or friends and family, as they were to me, it's about the storytelling. I don't know if it's a London thing. I don't know. I think it's quite an Irish thing as well. Again, that's my personal opinion because that's my sort of background. And obviously Sicilian, that Italian, the storytelling nature. But essentially, when people have done 5-6 years in prison, in the films it's all about being hard. It's not. Because sooner or later, you're going to get, if you think you're the hard man and you live on fear, sooner or later you're going to come unstuck. Where it's about storytelling. You're sitting in prison all day. What are you going to do? You're going to chat. And it's the people that get on with everyone that actually prison becomes a little bit easier. And so when they're out of that context and you're sitting with these people in a pub or having a meal or going for a long drive, they're telling stories the whole time. And the stories are never about violence. They're always funny stories. So Bermondsey Tales is that. It's a collection of tales. And a lot of them are comical, and even the violent ones that are comical, because that's the nature of them. And it's not about people getting hurt. It's not about threat or violence. It's just that is the life they've lived. That is the choices they've made. And, often these stories end with a punchline. And that's what we've really wanted to put into the script. And, the feedback is that, touch wood, we've achieved that. So after Bermondsey Tales, I'm delighted to say Fugitive have got a fantastic slate. We've got, obviously, The Great Again, the true story about footballers in World War I, with the Royal British Legion backing it. We've got House, which is the story of Turnmills, the first ever sort of 24-hour club. We've got DJs like Tall Paul, Fatboy Slim, Carl Cox, it's their story. And it's Tall Paul's story, and he's got this wonderful cast of DJs and music lined up. So that's, again, a different story altogether. We've got Worth a Flutter, which is a story sort of about male masculinity, but it's a female-led story, a female-driven story, which is something that we wanted to tell. We've got, obviously, the prequel to Love, Honour and Obey, potential for a Wee Man too. So we've got this really diverse slate, and this slate of just huge, big hitting films, and also alongside the opportunity to work with people like Frank Harper and Daniel O'Reilly and David Shaw on projects that they've created, that we're going to be working alongside them to help them create their vision on their projects. So although Fugitive, a lot of what we do is in-house, we're also working with some great creatives to make sure that they get a chance to bring these brilliant scripts to life. I mean, David and Frank and Dan have got these 3 fantastic scripts, but in this industry, it isn't always easy to find the right people to work with and to bring these stories to life in a way that does them justice. So we're delighted as well to be working alongside these people in a slate of films, and with the contacts that we're making to sort of become a strong, independent British film company that are making quality content with people that are at the top of their game, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, British gangster films, I think it's something that they've got a bad reputation at the minute. I think that it's a little bit of snobbery. I think they're kind of looked down upon. If you say, "Oh, I'm doing a film, oh, what's it about?" Oh, it's a gangster comedy. Oh, okay, you see it. Listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but there is an audience out there. And I think the audience are sort of looked down upon, which is again, ridiculous. If you look at the great films, Love, Honour and Obey, obviously, I'm going to say, Kneel by Mouth, which isn't technically a gangster film, but I think it's got that grit about it. Long Good Friday, which for me is one of the greatest films ever. Bob Hoskins, what a performance. In Bruges, which technically isn't a gangster film, but again, it's got that integrity about it. It's just, you've got these wonderful, wonderful films. And I think the genre's sort of frowned upon, and that is something that we want to, bring back. And that's why, again, working with people like Alan Ford, Frank Harper, David Shaw, people that were involved in films like Football Factory and Lock, Stock and Snatch, these great, great films. Because we want to sort of bring back a bit of that, not bring back that integrity, that sounds a bit noble or righteous or you know, pretentious, but we just want to make good films that people enjoy, and people are proud of, and people, you know, so when we say, oh, you know, we did Mr. Kiss, we did Bermondsey Tales, we want people to go, oh, brilliant, and be enthusiastic about it. And I think that's where the actors come in as well. If you can bring in some diverse characters. I mean, we've got Maisie Smith, which I don't think you would naturally put down as being part of a gangster film. But that's because hopefully it's about more than that. It's about family. It's a deep role. It's a brilliant role for a young actress, and she's going to bring so much to it, and you know, she's going to be fantastic in the role. So I think that's part of it as well, is when you're looking at the script, to not just look at it as violence for violence sake, or not just look at it as these characters are these 2D characters that go around swearing at everyone and beating each other up. That isn't always necessarily the way. And also that's why we want to do bring in some diversity as well, because we've got realistically 5 or 6 fantastic, what would be classed as British gangster films that are on the slate that we're going to get made. But, you know, with people like Frank Harper, with people like David Shaw. So hopefully it will bring a bit of pride back to the genre, because I think it is wrongly frowned upon in some areas. So we have got plans for a prequel for Love on the Bay. Obviously, Ray's got had such a fantastic career, and he's got such an amazing back slate of films. So, you know, Love on the Bay. The other one, obviously, is Wee Man, which he won a BAFTA for. So Ray's got this fantastic idea for a prequel. And obviously Love on the Bay was such an iconic film with such an amazing cast. But the characters were so rich, I think it'd be interesting to sort of look at their youth and where they come from and how they become the people they were. And also Ray knows that world. Ray knows these characters. So who better to bring it to life than Ray? So that is something that we've got on the slate that we're looking to make. And obviously Wee Man 2 and, you know, the Paul Ferris story. There is another story there. There is, you know, outside of Wee Man, which was again an amazing film. But there is certainly life to tell the rest of that story and the other part of that story. So thank you, BritFlicks, for having me. Yet again, it's been lovely talking to you. I look forward to seeing you down on the set of Bermondsey Tales. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And anyone interested, my Instagram handle is Michael Head Actor, and Fugitive Films is Fugitive Films Productions. Please give us a follow, and you'll see all about what we're doing and our exciting films that are coming up, and our West End premiere, Mr. Kiss. So thank you for taking time for watching us, and thank you for having us down.